Hi, I'm John Stevens, Professor of Tuba and Euphonium at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and Director of the School of Music. In addition to my work as a performer and teacher, I've spent most of my career being a very avid composer, and I want to talk to you today about the whole notion of getting started with composing. I think even for experienced musicians, the idea of creating a new work of music yourself can be an intimidating thing. And I want to encourage you not to be intimidated by it, but to be willing to stick your toe into the water of writing music and try it on for yourself. I want to talk to you about some things that you might consider that will help you get started. First of all, like with anything else, I think it's good to take what you already know, the things you already do well, and try to apply them to something like composing. Chances are, if you're watching this, you're a tuba or euphonium player and you have a fair amount of experience as a performer. That means that you understand what the capabilities of your own instruments are, and you also understand what your own capabilities are on that instrument. So if you want to start by writing something maybe that's not terribly complex or doesn't involve a lot of orchestration or lots of instruments and personnel, I would suggest that you think about writing an unaccompanied piece for yourself to perform. Write something for your instrument because it's something that you really know and understand already. Composing music for me anyway, is not the sort of activity where you're suddenly hit with a bolt from the blue in the middle of the night and receive inspiration from a higher power. Just like practicing your instrument, it's important to sit down every day, or as many days as you can devote to it, and write. Sometimes that means sitting. For me, I do a lot of my writing at a keyboard and also my writing table. I may sit there for a long time and not come up with anything. Some days I may work for hours and come up with 10 seconds of music. That's fine. Some days I might come up with 3 or 5 minutes of music in that amount of time. But actually putting yourself in your composition place every day is really important. It's also important to realize that writing a successful piece of music is more than just dealing with pitches and rhythms and melody, harmony if it's appropriate. But there's a lot of nuance that creates the difference between an okay piece of music and a really good piece of music. I would strongly suggest that you identify some pieces that you already know that you think are successful. And if you were going to say write an unaccompanied piece, choose some unaccompanied pieces that you like and look at them, study them, listen to them, and look at the part or the score if it's appropriate to learn as much as you can about what is it that really makes this piece successful. We deal with music with our brains, our eyes, our ears, and our heart. I find that more often than not we spend an awful lot of time using our eyes and our brains and not as often as we should our ears and our heart. And so listening to pieces of music that you like should tell you a lot about how you want to compose. Look at what's on the page besides the notes. A piece of music is created by the tempo markings, the dynamics, the descriptive words that are used. All of that goes into making a piece of music that has some nuance and will be satisfying and meaningful to you as a performer and people as a listener. You may find that writing a piece of music for yourself, you're trying to seek your own voice as a composer, so use your own voice as a performer to help you do that. Then, by branching out and going beyond that, perhaps writing some chamber music, duets, maybe something for a brass quintet you might play in, or tuba euphonium quartet, is a really good way to go because, again, you're still dealing with instruments that you have some good understanding of as a performer. If you're going to write something that requires a score, I would strongly encourage you to use a transposed score rather than a concert score. I think it's very helpful for young composers in particular, or experienced musicians that haven't composed very much, to, when you're looking at a score, to be able to see what the performers see. So for example, if you're writing a brass quintet, if you're looking at the horn part as the horn player sees it, that's going to be important for you deciding whether the range is appropriate rather than looking at just the concert pitches. Finally, I just simply want to encourage you to write. I started composing when I was in graduate school, and for me it was sort of a hobby within my own profession, and it's taken on a larger and larger part of my career as my career has evolved throughout my life as a musician. I don't think there's a more satisfying thing in music than creating a piece of music and bringing it to life as a performer or hearing other performers bring it to life. I think it's one of the most rewarding things that you can do, and the strongest message I want to send to you today is don't be afraid to try it. The way you learn and get better is by making mistakes and creating things that you're not terribly satisfied with. But every one of those is going to be a step towards you becoming a successful composer. Thank you.